We take a live look outside. A beautiful long weekend we had here, but a severe thunderstorm watch in place right now for Windsor, Essex as powerful storms hit the ground north of London. Colette Kennedy has all the details tonight. I'm Chris Ensing. Thanks for watching. Thousands of people across Windsor, Essex returned to school today. Students and staff, parents dropping kids off. A busy time. This is the second September with COVID-19 restrictions in place, but more students are expected to be in the classroom this time around. And all of it as the virus continues to rapidly spread during this fourth wave. CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa is on campus tonight live from the main campus of the University of Windsor. Jen, how are people feeling as they head back to class?
Chris, many of the students that I spoke with were excited, but still a little nervous. This return to school is happening as the region is experiencing a fourth wave of COVID-19. Now, today there are more than 600 active cases in Windsor, Essex. That's compared to just 80 active cases on the first day of school last year. Despite this, students at St. Clair College and the University of Windsor say they do feel safe on campus.
With like vaccinations and stuff, I feel fine. I'd like it to be more normal actually, so hopefully that will be after the winter.
Feeling good now. Let's be in campus and see how it feels in class. Yeah.
It definitely feels better. It feels weird because it just feels like I was on a break from grade 11 and I'm all the way in college, right? But it feels better to be in school than online. I mean, it's definitely scary. The fear is still there, but I feel like the measures are being that are in the school is pretty good. So one of our classes only have like 11 people maximum.
Hopefully just kind of the same thing you'd get from every other year, just like with better like protocols, like safety, so everyone can stay on campus and have the unique experience.
Feels good. I'm definitely a little nervous just because like being back in the classroom is definitely going to feel different. But yeah, I'm definitely excited for sure. I hope that the rest of the people here are kind of taking this seriously and that they're not putting themselves and other students into an unsafe position.
I mean, the protocol is just really pretty amazing. And then for the Safe Lancer app, I feel like that's so amazing because without the app, you can't come in, you can, it's just really good for me. It makes me feel safe.
Now, here at the University of Windsor, classes don't officially start until Thursday, but at the college, some programs did begin today. Both schools are offering select programs and courses online, and then others are in person.
Jen, a lot of excitement there, but also talk about protocols, procedures. What are some of those that make students feel safe heading into this semester?
Well, those that I spoke with said it's a combination of the vaccine and school safety protocols. Both schools did mandate that all staff and students needed to be vaccinated, especially if you're living in residence or you're doing a varsity sport. Anyone who is unvaccinated must do a rapid test. Today at the college, I saw many students filling out a vaccine form. Someone that I spoke with who was directing students said that even if they are fully vaccinated, they still need to complete a COVID screening before they come onto campus. Students that I spoke with, though, are eager. They're glad to be back with their peers and to get that on-campus experience. So they're willing to do really whatever it takes to be there. Chris.
Thanks for this, Jen. CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa live tonight. The staff are wrapping up their first day of school across Windsor, Essex. This morning, we were up early with students as they got off the bus at H.J. Lassalin. That's the Catholic elementary school in Forest Glade.
I'm feeling great. I can't wait to go to grade 8. I haven't been to school since April of this year, and yeah, it's going to be all awesome. Can't wait to see my friends.
Tell me how you're feeling.
Nervous and excited, but I'm mostly a novice.
Very excited.
What's the best part about going back to school?
About we can see our friends, our teachers, and stuff.
I feel good because I'm so excited if I can go to the gym today.
What do you want to do in the gym?
Play, flip, jump, and hoop, and do that.
Skipping rope.
Yeah, skipping rope.
Sure there. Some parents dropping off their kids equally excited for the first day, that return to in-class learning, especially after spending most of last year learning virtually.
I am so glad they are back to school after like a year and a half online schooling. When they are in school, first there's a competition in the class, they learn, online is only one-to-one, like teacher to student. In real school, like when they go and they compete with their friends, they learn from their friends as well.
Well, we feel that we are very well prepared and, more importantly, very excited for the return of our students into the classroom. And we know that they're excited as well to see our school team again, as well as their friends. We've taken a cautious and measured approach to reopening our schools by implementing our return to school guidelines. And this has allowed us to create an atmosphere that's safe for both our staff and our students.
The Ontario Fire Marshal has wrapped up their investigation in Wheatley. It has not released a cause. Chatham-Kent Mayor Darren Caniff says more than 100 people remain displaced, and they're trying to fix that as quickly as they can. He says the province is looking into the source of the leak, saying Mother Nature and Earth as the responsible party, adding it's a complicated issue. He would not point fingers. So far, the municipality spent several hundred thousands of dollars with no end in sight at the cost of fixing a suspected leak. A proposed class action lawsuit, it's in the works, but the mayor had no comment. The pandemic restriction that kept most international visitors out of the country has now been lifted. Foreign tourists and other non-essential travelers can now fly into Canadian airports and cross the border. They could even skip the 14-day quarantine, but there are conditions.
But when we actually think about the policy, we know that everyone who's entering Canada has to be fully vaccinated with a Canadian-approved vaccine, and of course has to have a negative test within 72 hours. Those are two very, very good, but of course not perfect, mechanisms to ensure that people coming into the country don't have COVID.
The restriction that kept out foreign travelers was listed just after midnight. It comes a month after American non-essential travelers got the green light to enter. Both changes happening as case counts in the fourth wave of the pandemic are climbing higher in this country. Delta appears to be the dominant COVID-19 variant driving up those new cases across Canada. And with growing questions about the need for booster shots, many are wondering how they'd work to protect against new variants. Vicadopia reports.
It doesn't take much for Andrea Horowitz to get sick. She's been on medication to suppress her immune system ever since her liver transplant.
You're used to this. I mean, since I was 30 years old, I never went anywhere without washing my hands, or, I used my feet to open doors. It's just part of the life.
So when she was offered a third COVID-19 shot,
they said I could come, I ran.
Booster shots can be used in a few ways, typically as a third dose of the same vaccine for people with compromised immune systems, or for those with waning immunity, such as older people or those who had 2 shots early in the pandemic. Or it could be as a new vaccine, redesigned specifically for emerging variants of the coronavirus, such as Delta.
So we're all waiting for the data from Pfizer and Moderna that will tell us whether you get a better antibody level out of a Delta-specific booster versus a regular booster.
The vaccines approved so far were designed to target the original version of the coronavirus and its spike protein, which it uses to penetrate our defenses. But that spike protein has undergone mutations, creating new variants, which researchers have now genetically sequenced.
Then you have the sequence of this new spike protein. You have that you can just swap out that sequence and then use that vaccine.
The worry is, without a new booster shot, we'll see more breakthrough infections. But so far, researchers say Canada is doing better than other countries, partially because of our delay between doses, which resulted in a stronger immune response.
We do potentially have the luxury of time to wait and see what the data from elsewhere is telling us. Now, that said, though, we need to continue monitoring breakthrough cases with Delta.
I want to live. I don't want to get COVID.
For some Canadians, no amount of protection is too much. Vicadopia, CBC News, Toronto.
The federal election heads into its final stretch. They're heating up. The political attacks are on the increase, and angry protesters, they've been following Justin Trudeau, and they've escalated. Just north of us in London, police there are investigating a stone-throwing incident at a campaign event there yesterday. CBC's Marina von Stackelberg reports.
Sprayed by gravel, Justin Trudeau says he was hit by the small stones, but not injured. The Liberal leader was boarding his bus during a campaign stop in London, Ontario on Labor Day when angry protesters surrounded him.
This is not who we are as a country.
In Montreal today, Trudeau says he is inspired by healthcare workers who also face what he calls anti-vaxxer mobs.
It's not just at political rallies that this is happening. There are healthcare workers across the country who are getting hassled and intimidated and bullied as they're going into work to keep people safe and alive.
Across Canada, protesters have surrounded busy areas, including hospitals, a response to provinces bringing in COVID-19 passports.
This event will no longer be taking place here today.
Justin Trudeau already had to cancel one campaign event because of safety concerns. Many protesters in yesterday's crowd waved signs for the People's Party of Canada. Their leader, Maxime Bernier, was egged at a campaign stop last week in Saskatoon. He says no leader spoke out against what happened to him. On Twitter this morning, he wrote, "Some idiot threw pebbles at Mr. Trudeau yesterday. I condemn it. Words are our weapons, but physical violence is always wrong." The other leaders were quick to denounce what happened to Trudeau over the weekend.
I don't agree with Mr. Trudeau's approach on many things, but I respect his ability to be able to communicate with Canadians free of harassment, intimidation, and violence.
It is absolutely wrong to be throwing stones. I mean, I can't imagine that I'm saying this in 2021. Don't throw stones at people because you disagree with them.
Justin Trudeau says despite the protests, he will press ahead, but will look to the RCMP for advice on security. He will also leave it up to the Mounties to decide whether charges are warranted. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
The Taliban have announced the formation of a new interim government in Afghanistan. Although they had promised a more inclusive Islamic society, as Susan Ormiston reports, those chosen for the top posts in the caretaker cabinet suggest a different story.
What's to note here is this new interim caretaker government is composed of hardline Taliban leaders, many of whom have been in the movement for over 20 years. The interim prime minister, for example, led the Taliban during the last time it was in power in Kabul more than 20 years ago. So some names: the interim prime minister, as we've noted, is Mullah Hassan Akhund. He is seen as an influential figure on the religious side. One of his deputies is the head of Taliban's political bureau, Mullah Abdul Hani Baradar. He led the Taliban's delegation on the peace talks in Qatar, a very well-known man to the West. And two members of the infamous Haqqani network, considered a U.S. terrorist group sanctioned by the U.S. and the UN. Interior Minister Sirajuddin Haqqani will be in government in a very important position, and this will be very difficult for the international community to accept. Also, no women in cabinet, no diversity. When asked about that, the Taliban spokesperson said more names could be added and will be added to the cabinet, but there's no indication that women will take a leadership role. That had been communicated and messaged earlier this month. What does the caretaker government mean? Well, it means there will be more people coming into the government. It also could mean that they couldn't come up with a full list of names suitable to the different factions in the Taliban, and they will have to do further negotiations, but they couldn't wait much longer. It's been 3 weeks since Kabul fell to the Taliban, and there are, as we've seen over the last few weeks, increasing tensions, economic concerns in the country, which are ratcheting up concerns and fears in this vacuum of government. So they've started with an interim caretaker government, much more to come, and there will be much analysis of this in the coming days. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Islamabad.
We call this a hard pivot in the industry here, folks. After a couple of years behind this desk, I will no longer be hosting this show on a permanent basis. It's hard to say goodbye. I think it's time to open the space up, though, for someone else. I'll still be here. I'm sticking in Windsor. I'm going to be reporting for CBC News. I've enjoyed my time here more than anywhere else. It's been great to be part of this community, to live here, and to share the stories that you trust us with. I'm so thankful for the patience, the trust that you've given me and the team. It is a team. I just want to acknowledge very quickly here the work of Rob Evans. He directs the show, the calm voice in all of our heads. He's been here since I've started, and he's just a pleasant person to work with. Stacey Janzer, you know her. She's been producing this show for 9 months behind the scenes. We couldn't get this show to air without her. The shop, we've leaned on each other pretty hard over the last 18 months. It's been hard but rewarding work, and we feel the pain, we feel the joy when we share your stories. I can't thank you all individually for your time and your trust as we've gone through this, but I do quickly want to say thank you to Pat and Ed. It's my mom and my dad. They watch every show, and I love them so much for the support that they've given me to get here, and I'm excited for what comes next with this team and with everybody around us. Thank you for what you've been able to let me do and letting me get through this without crying. I didn't think I'd be able to do it. We're gonna go to the tower cam now. Maybe there's a ship up there that will save our day as we guide our ways on to something else. Colette Kennedy is back from a pretty wild 2 weeks off. And we're gonna ask her about what's new in her life, because I think she's got a couple things she's gonna let us in on too. That's after the break. With a full heart, we welcome Colette Kennedy back in our lives. Colette, we have missed you, but you have been off for good reason. Can you update us on what's going on here, buddy?
I would be happy to, Chris. Yes, what I did on my summer vacation. Obviously some weather to talk about in a moment, but I got married.
You did. Congratulations, buddy.
Thanks.
Oh.
I have to take a deep breath to believe that this is real.
Well, I had to take a deep breath too because this is a long time coming. Find the right guy. But we had a wonderful weather was good too. We had a wonderful wedding. And I just have to say how much I've appreciated. I've gotten lots of congratulations and thank yous from viewers, but a lot of my family from Windsor were at that event. So shout outs to all of them too. Many I hadn't seen in a long time, not just because of COVID. So that was very, very nice.
The smiles there. You two look lovely, Claire.
Yeah. Could I be more excited? Finally. Yeah, okay, let's get to, had good weather there. What we don't have, necessarily great weather tonight. And I really want to walk you through what's going on. So the severe thunderstorm watch extends back here towards Windsor throughout southwestern Ontario. Warning areas in red, so those are off to the northeast of us. But I have seen now, it'll have to be confirmed by Environment Canada or the Northern Tornadoes Project, but I have seen certainly video of what looks like tornadic activity. And we talked about this yesterday, how all the ingredients were going to be there. So there, look at that signature here. You can see some of those very strong storms back into portions of cottage country and trekking eastward. But I want to take your attention. There is a severe thunderstorm warning associated with this line of storms that's tracking southeast at about 50-55 kilometers an hour. So coming our way over the next hour and a half or so. Now by then, because we lose some of the heat from the sun, once it sets, it means the timing, they should weaken a little bit, but still something to be aware of. Some very strong winds, isolated tornadoes possible, but really some damaging winds and heavy downpours. Our temperatures were up there, humidity up there as well, and then we'll kind of watch the timing of that as it pushes through the overnight hours, and then things really actually improve tomorrow with just a few isolated showers that will be popping up. So things will get better, but it's going to be a rocky evening and some of the overnight with some of those thunderstorms still continuing. And like I said, tomorrow really spotty in terms of the showery conditions that we'll see. Some cooler air comes in after that, and then we warm back up towards next weekend. So, okay, I started off, Chris, talking about my real life husband, but my TV husband, that's you, has been such a pleasure working with you every night. You know, I just love and adore you. You're such a professional, but you're also so humble. You don't always get that in a TV host. So good at what you do, and I am going to miss working. I know you're still there. You're not going away. Still going to see you. But I'm going to miss doing this every night with you because you're just so fun to be with.
Colette, you're just a true joy and a professional. It's just, if there's anybody, you're just so good. And I just love that we were able to work together like this, and I am excited. When you come visit that Windsor family, we're going to have some fun, buddy.
I can't wait. I was worried that I'm going to cry, so I think we need to take it away right now.
Well, up next is Ted Lasso, something that got us through everything. Colette, I love you, buddy.
All right. Love you too, man.
See ya. Oh, man. If we can hold it together after the commercial break, Ted Lasso is a show that I'm sure a lot of you have watched, may have found some joy during this pandemic. There's a Canadian connection you're going to want to hear about. There's an outpouring of tributes to Michael K. Williams. The actor, best known for his role in the series The Wire and Boardwalk Empire, was found dead yesterday in his New York apartment. The cause of death still under investigation. His breakthrough performance, it was in The Wire as Omar Little. The swaggering gangster was a moral code. He delivered some of the most memorable lines in that iconic series. The role was groundbreaking too, because the character was gay. Williams, whose scar made him instantly recognizable, was in TV series and movies over a span of 2 decades, nominated for an Emmy for his part in Lovecraft Country. Michael K. Williams was 54. One of the biggest shows, one of my favorites, is now in its 2nd season.
I got a question for you. Has a team a la us ever won the whole chimichanga?
Not for 40 years.
Oh!
No, you don't coming through here, that's fine. Yeah, I got you.
It's like Dukes of Hazzards. Y'all probably call it the Earls of Risk over here.
Ted Lasso, an Apple TV hit. Jason Sudeikis stars as an American football coach recruited to manage an English Premier League soccer team. But he's not the only fish out of water. French-Canadian actor Jeudi Lamour plays the goalie on the team. And he's added his own Montreal magic to the character. Douglas Gellivan has the story.
That was Jason that was like, oh yeah, your character's gonna be from Montreal. And I was like, oh yeah, we should totally do that. That would be super fun.
Midnight poutine. Poutine.
That's not dirty, it's just super Canadian.
Jeudi Lamour plays a French-Canadian goalkeeper named Thierry Zorro for the fictitious Premier League soccer team AFC Richmond in the hit TV show Ted Lasso. The show's first season was nominated for a whopping 20 Emmys.
It's sad to say, but it was perfect timing that it came out like at the height of the pandemic, and everybody needed a hug, and the show was basically a hug.
A native of Montreal's NDG neighborhood, Jeudi Lamour had already worked with the show's star, Jason Sudeikis, in the 2016 film Race. And he says that familiarity was in part why he was trusted to add his own take onto his character.
I'm representing Montreal. I'm a Haitian Canadian Jew that's on the show. So I'm like, yeah, let's use all of it if we can.
We're middle of the table, we've lost 3 or 4, and you want to know if the snacks in the locker room are tasty enough?
Are they?
It's fitting for the show, given the whole fish out of water shtick embraced by Sudeikis' character, that Jeudi Lamour was cast to play a professional athlete in a sport that he had never actually played before.
There was never any soccer in my journey.
Oh, you bien. Growing up in Montreal, Jeudi Lamour played football for the Sun Youth Hornets and the St. Leonard Cougars. He went through training camp with the Concordia Stingers before he quit and moved out west to pursue his acting career.
I play wide receiver, so it's very similar to so basically I'm catching a ball, and a soccer ball is so much bigger, so it's not as hard as I thought it was going to be. So I was like, oh yeah, I can actually do that.
Bringing elements of his Montreal roots to the screen is a point of pride for Jeudi Lamour. In season 2, if you're watching closely, he brings poutine to the Christmas potluck. And while it remains to be seen what other little Easter eggs he will sneak into the show for people watching here at home, he will be back for season 3, and Montrealers will undoubtedly be watching.
It's such a cool experience. It's definitely the coolest experience I've lived.
Douglas Gellivan, CBC News, Montreal.
That's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. You can find news anytime. You can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Instagram, you can find us on Twitter, you can find the Rick Mercer Report up next. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.